I know Chicago. I know the neighborhoods. I know the streets. I know what real Chicago is. Okay? But now there seems to be something missing. And I think you can feel it, can't you? There's something missing. What is it? It's the heart and the soul of a real mayor. That's what's missing from Chicago. That's what's missing from our interactions, from our everyday life here in the city of Chicago. Rahm Emanuel simply does not understand the city of Chicago. He doesn't understand that it's a city of neighborhoods, a city of communities, churches, schools, of charities. He doesn't understand that it's a city of real people. In 2010, when Rahm Emanuel returned to Chicago from Washington, D.C., and decided that he wanted to run for mayor of Chicago, I challenged his petitions on the basis of residency. Today, I don't have a problem with where Mayor Rahm Emanuel came from. My only problem is that he's still here. Thank you. I see we have some cab drivers here tonight, am I right? So raise your hand if you're with the cab industry. All right. Well, guess what? I stand with you. My father was a cab driver. He worked his way through college driving a cab. Okay? He may never have gone to college, but for the cab industry. I stand with you against Rahm's attempt to destroy your livelihood and to fight Rahm's discrimination against you. I share your outrage at Rahm and his uber-rich friends. Okay? Rahm's brother, for example, Ari, a major investor in Uber. Is that a conflict of interest? But you'll have to forgive me. I am more than willing to pay for Rahm's next Uber ride, as long as it's one way out of Chicago. Okay? A real city deserves a real mayor. That's what I believe. They call Rahm Mayor 1% because he cares about the billionaires. That's what Rahm seems to spend all of his time and attention on. Okay? Now, Rahm would say that that's not true, that he also has friends in the second and third percentile. But, in fact, right now, as we speak, and I'm not making this up, okay? How could you make this stuff up? Rahm Emanuel is down the street skirting campaign finance laws, raising millions for his campaign for mayor. Bill Clinton showed up when he heard Rahm's staff mention the word skirting. I don't know why. It just seems wrong to me. It's outrageous. In fact, Bill Clinton is extra happy tonight because Rahm chose to have his fundraiser at the Paris Club, which is right next door to TJ's adult bookstore. Or as we call it, the Bill Clinton Library in Chicago. But seriously, we were all told that Rahm was the all-powerful leader who could solve all of our problems. Isn't that what the media told us? But let's review the record. Since Rahm became mayor of the city of Chicago, murder crisis, pension crisis, financial crisis, education crisis. And what are Rahm's solutions? I'm not making this up. Rahm just raised taxes on 911 calls. Now, I call that taking the never let a good crisis go to waste philosophy a little bit too far. Rahm can't even get the basics right, like filling the potholes. You would think that he would have a vested interest in doing this, because I honestly believe that if he ever actually stepped in one, he would never be able to get out. Rahm is always bragging about the surveillance cameras. They're everywhere. They're everywhere in the city of Chicago, in every room you go into. Okay? It's the truth. But I must say that these cameras have truly captured hundreds upon hundreds of highly disturbing hours of very antisocial behavior. And that's just the footage of Rahm. Okay? He would fool the people of Chicago by creating a TV show called Chicagoland, which portrayed Rahm Emanuel as a very caring, a very compassionate, a very empathetic, wildly charismatic leader, all right? And I must say, it was the best fiction I've ever seen on TV. Or, once again, as Rahm's campaign consultants would call it, skirting campaign finance laws. A real city definitely deserves a real mayor. Now, I think it's time that somebody actually said out loud what everyone already knows. Emperor Emmanuel has no clothes, all right? The myth of Rahm's superiority has been shattered. I talk to people every day, and not one of them tells me that they like Rahm Emanuel as their mayor. Not one. Not one. Okay? I think Rahm Emanuel's in for a very big surprise. I don't think that he's going to be reelected as mayor of the city of Chicago. Let's hope so. So what's my plan? What's my plan to make it Chicago again? Return to the basics. The basics. The basics that made Chicago great to begin with. Create a financial climate where real people can get a job, not just Rahm's cronies, okay? We must crack down on the corrupt practices in the Chicago City Council, eliminate the wasteful inefficiencies. Real Chicago people can't afford these. I think we know that by now. Restore law and order to our streets so real Chicago people can enjoy clean, safe streets once again. Make education the #1 priority in our city, okay? Help our teachers to create the next generation of leaders in this great city of ours. We must absolutely stop Rahm's $750 million property tax increase. We've got to stop that so that real Chicago people, families, and businesses can afford to stay in the city of Chicago. Oh, and finally, we must make Uber and Lyft accountable and end the discrimination against the Chicago taxi industry. Am I right? Now, this won't be easy. I'm not saying that this is going to be easy, but like JFK famously said, we don't do these things because it's easy. We do these things because it's hard. I was born to an Irish father, a Swedish mother. I was brought home from the hospital on St. Patrick's Day. I was brought home from the hospital on a few St. Patrick's Days after that, but we don't have to get into that right now. No, I'm joking. Both of my parents were Chicago Public School employees. Needless to say, education was very important in my family. My father was a man who loved real Chicago, talked about it endlessly, real Chicago history, real Chicago people. He taught me 3 values essentially in my entire life. 1, education is a lifelong process. Never stop learning, changing, growing, improving, meeting new people, learning from them wherever you go. 2, you can achieve anything if you're willing to stand up and work very, very hard. And 3, the most important of the 3, all the success in the world means absolutely nothing if you don't turn around and help the community and serve the community that you came from. I'm very thankful that to say that I've already achieved my dream. My dream was to have an Emmy Award-winning TV production company in the city of Chicago. Okay? Not to move to LA or somewhere else, but to do that here in the city of Chicago, and I've done that. Okay? But I'm not worried about myself. I'm worried about real Chicago people who are finding it increasingly difficult to achieve their dreams. All right? The next generation of Chicagoans who will find it impossible to achieve their dreams in Chicago and will be forced to move outside of the city of Chicago. This is why I can honestly say I think it's time that we made a little Chicago history of our own. Okay? You and me both. You and me together. We must band together. We must fight for a vision, a vision of a real Chicago, a real Illinois. A real city deserves a real mayor, and I want to be that real mayor for you. That is why tonight I am announcing that I am a candidate for mayor of the city of Chicago. Thank you. Thank you very much. As I was saying earlier, I've actually had a couple people come up to me and say, "Are you sure you want to do this? You don't understand. Rahm Emanuel is going to come after you. He's going to target you. He's going to target your business, your family." And I say, I say, really? You you honestly want to have a mayor who you believe is going to target you for opposing him. No, that's not Chicago. That might be the Hollywood image of Chicago, as we were saying, but that's not real Chicago. Real Chicago people, and I know this, and the real Chicago people are good people, are kind people, are hardworking people, are generous people. That's what real Chicago is. That's what real Chicago people are. That's the image of Chicago that I want the rest of the country and the rest of the world to see, and that's the image of a mayor of Chicago that I want the rest of the country and the rest of the world to see. Am I right? Yes. Thank you. You know, people say that Rahm is tough. Rahm's not tough. Rahm's a bully. Let's be honest, okay? And I have a history of standing up to bullies. I'm not going to let Rahm bully me. I'm not going to let anyone bully me. All right? I've never run away from a fight in my entire life. In fact, I'm going to make this pledge, this promise to you right now, that this campaign is going to go the opposite way that Rahm Emanuel thinks it's going to go. All right? By the time we're done with this campaign, Rahm Emanuel will have truly joined that 1%ers club. But I'm not talking about his income now. I'm talking about his approval ratings. Thank you. Rahm has succeeded in one thing, to be sure, dividing our city between the haves and the have-nots. That's the one thing that Rahm has somehow managed to accomplish. And I can honestly tell you this. I want to be the mayor for 100% of our great city. But for now, I'll settle for the 99%. So I'm asking you to stand with me because I know that together we can make it Chicago again. Thank you. Let's make it Chicago again. Thank you. God bless you, and let's win this election. All right.